Please rise to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman and members of the audience, would you please remain standing for a moment of silence for the following individuals. Ms. Joan Coster, Alta Vista School cafeteria worker for us for many years, and the passing of our past retired fire police chief, Phil Mahoney. Moment of silence for those people, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moran. Superintendent will call the roll for the Woburn School Committee meeting of February 17th.
Ms. Chisholm?
Here.
Ms. Cormier?
Present.
Ms. Crowley?
Present.
Mr. Kissel?
Here.
Mr. Lipset? Here. Mr. Morenon?
Here.
Dr. Wells?
Here. So I just want to remind people that this meeting is live streamed, and so by coming to the meeting and appearing at the meeting, you're agreeing to be taped and videotaped. Okay. First up is approval of the minutes. So we have minutes from January 26, 2022.
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Okay. I'd ask for a committee indulgence to move items around, and so we're going to, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have the public comment in a little bit, but I want to get some of the administrative stuff out of the way so the committee can focus on the public comment. And I'm going to split the public comment into two parts. The first part will be after the mayor speaks and the superintendent, and that will be people who want to discuss the mask issue. After that, the committee will then discuss the motions and make a decision, and then I'll take a recess, and then I'll come back into session and have a second public discussion for people who want to discuss anything else besides the mask. People are welcome to stay the whole time, but you can leave at whenever you want. Okay? So just, if I could have a motion to suspend the regular order of business. So moved. Okay. Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So I'd like to go to the student representative to the school committee report. If we could have that live streamed, please. And who do we have today? We'll see.
Looks like Faith.
Faith. Okay.
With the last name F.
You'll have to unmute yourself.
Hey, Faith.
Hi, Faith, can you hear us?
Let's get the director of technology in here.
Don't worry, we got
I think she might just not have been ready to go, so.
Yes, I was going to say, we need a heads up.
Oh, yeah, it's only 7:30.
Oftentimes she's on with the pledge.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Just-
Well, we'll move forward, and if she's around at some point.
Come back to it.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is we're going to move to the reports and presentation of the superintendent on the COVID-19 update. But before that, I'd like to invite the mayor, Scott Galvin, to come before us and give us his perspective on the situation with COVID in the city and information from the Board of Health.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the school committee. Thanks for inviting me in tonight to talk about COVID, the mask mandate, and any other questions that you might have. So I do have some information from the Board of Health. The Board of Health met tonight at 6 o'clock tonight, had a meeting, and they voted 3-0 to recommend, 3-0 to recommend to school committee that they follow DESI's guidance and lift the mask mandate effective February 28th. And I'm here to recommend as well that the city follow the DESI guidelines to drop the mask mandate in our schools effective February 28th and give students and staff a much needed return to a sense of normalcy. The Board of Health, as I said, also met tonight, and I am confident in making the change now because conditions are improving, because the case rate among teachers, staff, and students has declined significantly, and because working collaboratively with Superintendent Crowley, the school committee, the city council over the past 2 years, we've put in place many safeguards to protect the students, staff, and teachers. including the provision of weekly testing for our students and teachers, installation of HEPA air purifiers in every classroom in the schools, and weekly vaccine clinics that have been offered by the Board of Health at the Senior Center will continue through at least April every Thursday night. Additionally, the numbers that quantify community transmission levels are falling very quickly, including a very low but a low positivity rate as defined by the CDC. Furthermore, at least 85% of all Woburn residents have received at least one dose of the vaccine, with 75% fully vaccinated. The Board of Health continues to strongly advise all of our residents over the age of 5 that vaccination is the best defense against COVID and urges all of our residents to get fully vaccinated. Removal of the mask mandate does not mean that we are moving on completely from COVID-19. We must continue to monitor conditions carefully, and I believe that we are well prepared to make further adjustments as may be necessary. The overall health and safety of our students, staff, and teachers remains paramount, as has been the case for the past 2 years. Be happy to answer any questions.
Okay. So does anybody have any questions for the mayor? Andrew?
Mr. Mayor, do you have an update on what exactly the positivity rate is?
5%.
5%. Thank you. That's all.
Anybody else have any questions for the mayor? Thank you for coming and relaying that information and aiding the board in its decision-making process.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayor.
you. Okay. Next up, we'll have the superintendent give his COVID-19 update, what's happening in the school system.
Ms. Judkins?
Messaging, please, she'll be ready when you're ready. Multitasking over here.
Okay. So as I have over the past couple meetings, since we've come back from Christmas break, the holiday break, provided a COVID update. And so a lot of this will look familiar to the committee. Next slide. Having Mayor Galvin here certainly solidifies and exemplifies the relationship that the school department has with the city. And so I just want to point people to the city website should they have any questions about any resources available to the city. But in the upper right-hand corner of this slide, there is a COVID center. So if people have questions about positivity or vaccination rates in the city, it's readily available. We continue to use the data dashboard to monitor cases in our schools, and I want to thank the nurses for putting the effort in to make sure that this is reflective of what is occurring. This snapshot was taken yesterday. Obviously, these things, moves all the time. So as people fall off, people come in. But the next slide is really more indicative of where we are as a community. You can see that we peaked right after the holiday with 378 cases, and since that Omicron surge, we've seen a significant decline in the number of cases here in the Woburn Public Schools. This next slide, and actually, if I can, Ms. Judkins is doing the technology tonight. She's the director of technology, and these data dashboard studio things that I'm showing you, she created these, and so thank you to Ms. Judkins for making these available to the schools. And so this was taken this morning. This is a number of cases by school for the previous 7 days, so you can see again the precipitous decline in the number of cases in each school. We report every Wednesday to DESI the number of cases. Again, our nurse leader does this. And so on January 12th, we reported 306 students and 51 staff that were positive to DESI. Yesterday, we reported 20 students and 1 staff positive over the last week. And so again, just highlighting the significant decline in positive cases here in the Woburn Public Schools. And so a few general updates. I want to first of all just thank everybody that's here tonight and everybody in the Woburn Public Schools for all that they've done to get us to this point. We're going on 2 years. And so all the staff that have contributed, and I don't want to, at the risk of omitting somebody, use names, but all staff and the students who have shown remarkable resilience throughout. We've had bus drivers and crossing guards. It really is a community effort, and I want to, again, acknowledge that. The families for the support that they've shown throughout, and the city support and the school committee support shown in the investments made throughout to make our schools safe. As the mayor alluded to, the city is going to run a vaccine clinic every Thursday from, I think he just said April, but I know that through the end of March, from 4 to 6 at the Woburn Senior Center. So that's boosters and/or first vaccines. The school nurses and the principals continue to be the best resource for parents if they have questions, parents, families, guardians, if they have questions as it relates to what each school's procedures and protocols are. We continue to follow the DESE and the DPH and the Woburn Board of Health guidelines, which requires us to mask for 5 days upon returning from COVID. The new DESE guidance talks about the bus, if depending on the outcome tonight, students on the bus need to be masked. That's a federal mandate, so until that's lifted. And then I also believe that there's a federal regulation that in health offices, people are masked, so in our nurse offices, that students or staff would be required to mask up. And then lastly, we received updated DESE guidance on February 9th, and I want to just speak to this briefly. It's my recommendation that we adopt the DESE guidance from February 9th, and that the school committee should rescind the mask policy effective February 28th. As always, any individual who wishes to continue to mask, including those who face higher risk from COVID, should be supported in that choice. DESE also recommends that school districts adopt a layered approach to mitigate, and I can tell you that I've been working closely with all the principals, and all mitigation that is in place now will remain in place. So what does that mean? Spacing, HEPA filters, the cafeterias, having additional space, multiple lunches, all of those things will remain in place when we return February 28th. So the only change really would be if masks are still required or if they're optional. And so we thought that that would be a thoughtful way to get people back into school safely. And I'll conclude by saying that I hope that the committee understands that we've been following DESE guidance for a couple years, and I think it's time to see people smiling in schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is there any questions for the superintendent? Mr. Lipset.
You mentioned vaccine clinics. Are there any plans in the works to hold a vaccine clinic again for students under the age of 12, 5 to 11?
So this is the Thursday clinic is 5 and above?
It's for everyone.
For everybody.
Okay, that's
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the superintendent? Ms.
Well,
Chisholm?
I know we have all the other mitigations in place, but we're going to have a line that we're going to start decreasing that also at some point.
Yeah.
Baby steps, but some.
I think it's baby steps, Ms.
Okay.
Chisholm. Particularly at the elementary level,
Right.
the kid, routines and expectations are in place, and so I think it's important to kind of keep some of those and phase them out, particularly as the weather gets nicer and we're able to be outside more.
Because I would also like to make sure the kids learn how to share. And that's, I
Right.
think, an important part. But if they can't touch anything to belong to somebody else, it holds that back from them. So at some point, but just as long as we know there is a future that we'll be back to full normalcy.
Well, so if I could just, one of the reasons why we don't want to do that immediately is because we need the ability to pivot backwards
Right,
too.
we have.
So if we undo it quickly, we'd have to build it back. And so we want to try to make sure that we're able to react quickly.
As long as it's in the plans.
It's in the plans.
Okay.
All set, Mr. Chisholm?
I am.
Mr. Kissel?
On that same note, though, I mean, one of the pieces, we own them, obviously, the HEPA filters, and they're not a bad thing. I mean, just to have them available, I know there is a cost involved with filters and obviously the extra electricity, but as the resource subcommittee chair, I will definitely look at that piece and make sure that it's something that's feasible to keep for as long as we want to, not just because of COVID, just in general. not a bad thing, just for allergens and things like that, so.
Yeah, no, I think, the city made I think it was a couple $100,000 investment, and I think it's worthwhile
Yeah.
to maintain
To
that.
keep them, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? Okay, Mr. Lipson?
Just one additional. Has there been any discussion in central office among nursing staff on what additional precautions we can take for immunocompromised students? Because that's the one thing that worries me right now, is that we have students and students with family members who are immunocompromised, who, regardless of vaccine status, are at higher risk, and masks were one additional mitigation for them. So I'm just curious as to what kind of conversations have been had in terms of what additional we can do for immunocompromised students, for families with immunocompromised people.
Well, I think the way I understand it, everyone can remain masked, and so all the other mitigation strategies are in place. So,
But the fundamental issue when we talk about masking is that masking is not just an individual act, right? It is something that is meant to protect you, to protect others as well. So my concern is that lifting of the mask mandate in full, though individuals can still remain masked, if those around them are not masked, that's an additional risk. So I'm curious to know what else we can do, and I would love I hope that that our health staff has sort of thought about this as well in terms of what we can do for immunocompromised students. And along those lines, are we making KN95s, for example, available to all students in the building? Because that, I think, would be a big move in terms of making sure that our students have the protection that they need.
yeah, we will provide masks to anybody, staff or students that want them.
Ms. Comia?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to know, with the updated guidelines for isolation after someone is COVID positive, how can we ensure that they're going to wear masks those last 5 days when they return without putting their medical information out there?
So we have thought about this to some extent, and I think that, it's been great. The families, the parents have communicated to, the parents have communicated to the nurses, and so, students returning, the health staff are aware, and we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yep.
Just want to answer Mr. Lipset. Student has a health condition that can be referred to me, my office, for a 504.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the committee before I open it? I wanted to welcome Mr. Viola, Ward 7 Alderman. He's here. He's representing the City Council, and we appreciate his presence here, and he'll be taking notes and relaying them back to the other members of the council. Okay, so we're going to open it up to public comment. Before I do that, just so the committee, what I really want to avoid is interrupting people with applauses and booing. So if people who are in favor of lifting the mask mandate should raise their hand so I can see, so the committee can see that. And then people who are, I'll put them down, okay, so the committee saw that. And then people who are in favor of maintaining the the mask mandate, raise your hand. Okay. So I just want, that way, I want everybody to respect each other. The situation now is that people can have differences of opinion. That doesn't mean that we belittle them or something. So when you get up to speak to your point, and then don't harass people that have opposite points. So if we can stay with those guidelines, I'll ask people to come up one at a time, and then just state your name for the record. We got them written down, so that'll help with the spelling. And say what you want to say. And I have a timer here, and I'm going to set it for 3 minutes. Hopefully you can get it done within 3 minutes, and hopefully I don't have to stop you. Okay? So, huh? Oh, Faith is ready?
She is. She can't hear us, but she's ready when we are.
I'm sorry, could we just hear our student from the high school, and then we'll go right to you. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you. All right.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I'm just messaging her because she can't
Yeah,
hear us.
there she is.
Hey, Faith.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yep, we can.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Here is my report for the high school. So in terms of latest events and what's happening,
On June 28th, the MIAA State Winter Tournament will begin, and most teams have athletes who are qualified. On March 1st, grade 8 parent night will occur at the high school from 6 to 7, and parents will receive information via email within the next couple of days. On March 4th, Term 3 progress reports will be published. Also happening in March, course selection will take place for grades 8 through 11, and more information is to come on that. The Model United Nations Club, which I'm the proud leader of, had an amazing conference in Boston held by Boston University last week. A very special thank you to Advisor Ms. Camayo, our chaperone Ms. Linda Sheldon, and the entire Woburn community for making this trip possible. Spring sports signups will happen through Family ID within the next few weeks. WMHS will conduct the Seal of Biliteracy assessment this year with the goal of having even more students qualify for next year. Last year there were over 40 students. And with this, also senior class events are planning to be taking place over the next few months leading up to graduation. The Woburn Theater Company is rehearsing for the next performance happening from March 16th to March 17th. The Spectrum Club worked in collaboration with the school administration to make single bathrooms more available to students from all backgrounds to ensure students feel comfortable to access bathrooms throughout the school day. Also, safe space stickers created by the Spectrum Club were made available to all WMHS staff. The Uniting Females Power Club, led by student Abigail Lowry, advocated with school administration and facilities for free feminine hygiene products and were made available in several bathrooms for students at WMHS throughout the school year. And we hope to continue this next year in additional bathrooms. The science team took 5th place in their most recent competition, with the instant invention event taking 12th. O's chemistry and plate tectonics took 3rd. After 4 meets, the team is in 10th place out of 16 teams. And also with this, more on the Seal of Biliteracy, they will take place soon for qualifying seniors, and more info about this will be happening in the next couple of weeks through the WMHS Principals Update. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay. Well, I think the problem is she can't hear us.
Correct.
So I think we'll not have questions tonight, and just thank Faith for it and tell her we'll get the questions next meeting.
Jen
Thank
can
you.
type it.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
She's on the text
Yep.
ticket.
Okay, so we're going to do the public comment. And again, for people that have never been here for public comment is really for us to listen to you. This is not a back and forth between the committee members and yourself. It's really just to listen to what you have to say, so there'll be no dialogue with the committee. We'll take in what you're saying, and we'll use that in our vote. So somebody want to start, whoever is first on the line, they can come on up, just introduce yourself. Just give your name, and if you have a written statement, if you want to leave it with Ms. McLeod, then she can make sure entirety gets into the thing. So all set?
Great. My name is Michael Herbst, wet resident of Woburn. So I'm here to further urge the Woburn School Committee to rescind the masking mandates for Woburn Public Schools. Let's join other schools like Burlington, Stoneham, Melrose, and 40 other school districts that I've been able to determine so far, making it optional for our students to wear masks at school. Unfortunately, getting a comprehensive list was impossible at this point, which I found kind of curious and disconcerting. As many, if not all of you know, on February 9th, Governor Baker announced that masks are no longer required in public schools and that we have all the tools, quote, we have all the tools necessary to keep schools safe, unquote. I and 80% of other Massachusetts parents, according to a Boston.com poll of 2,000 parents on February 15, agree with Governor Baker, and I hope you all do as well. In a February 10 Boston ABC5 News segment regarding the lifting of masking mandates, a teacher from Walpole was interviewed, and she said, I'm a teacher for 26 years, and I see what's, and it's, and she means being mask wearing, been doing socially, emotionally, and academically to them. We need to come together and do it, meaning remove mask requirements for them. Her insight is sadly backed up by data. In an August 2021 article in the Journal of American Medical Association, JAMA, pediatrics section, the conclusions of a study entitled Global Prevalence of Depression and Anxiety Symptoms in Children and Adolescents During COVID-19 are, quote, pooled estimates obtained in the first year of the COVID-19 pandemic suggest that 1 in 4 youth globally are experiencing clinically elevated depression symptoms, while 1 in 5 are experiencing clinically elevated anxiety symptoms. These pooled estimates, which increased over time, are double of pre-pandemic estimates. An influx of mental health care utilization is expected, and allocations of resources to address child and adolescent mental health concerns are essential, unquote. Do we honestly believe that masks aren't a significant reason for these findings? Lastly, I would like to cite a lengthy and well-linked piece from January 26, 2022 in The Atlantic. In it, 3 very well-credentialed healthcare professional women conclude, regarding mask mandates foisted upon children, imposing on millions of children an intervention that provides little discernible benefit. The article goes through and evaluates, I think, 7 studies. Within it, on the grounds that we have not yet gathered solid evidence of its negative effects, violates the most basic tenet of medicine. First, do no harm. The foundation of medical...
Finish up, please.
Yep.
Okay.
And health interventions should be that they work, not that we have insufficient evidence to say whether they are harmful. Continued mandatory masking of children in schools fails this test, unquote. Please help our children and rescind the mask mandate for Woburn Public Schools.
Thank you. If you would like, you can leave that with Ms. McLeod right there in the green dress there. Okay, next up. Yep. And if you just give your name. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Courtney Glazier. I'm a parent of 3 boys here in Woburn, 7th grader, 4th grader, and a preschooler. In addition to being a mom, I have been a licensed independent clinical social worker for over 15 years. I'm here in front of you this evening to ask you all to consider a vote that will end the mask mandate in the Woburn schools. I'd like to share a little bit about myself and my family in relation to the pandemic. As parents and community members, my husband and I took this pandemic seriously. We stayed home, we kept distance, we wore masks, we tested when we needed to, we got vaccinated, we got our children vaccinated, we got boosted. I feel as though we've done everything in our power to protect our children and also the community. Unfortunately, there was so much about this pandemic that we could not protect our children from. Over the past few years, we have seen our children change. They have struggled with so much changing all at once and for so long. They fear more things than ever before. Their friendships have suffered. They have lost confidence when it comes to human interaction, such as ordering their own meal at a restaurant or asking a group of kids to join in a game. They have lost so much learning time, both in the classroom and in the world. The underlying but also absolute devastating side effect of COVID, the mental health crisis, has not escaped my family, and I am certain has not escaped most of the families in our city. It is mental health, the importance of providing our children a chance to start over, that I ask you all to please vote to end the mask mandate in our schools. If you think wearing masks does not impact mental health, well, I think you're wrong. How can it not? Masks protect us from COVID, but they cover half of our face. We lose human connection, ability to understand each other in day-to-day conversation, and to read emotions on faces. Reading expressions on faces is such an important social skill to learn. Masks keep us from recognizing our friends and acquaintances out in the world. Masks get in between our kids and our teachers, in between the connections they need to build with each other to strengthen learning, trust, and motivation. Masks to many, especially kids like my son, who struggles with severe anxiety, represents worry and fear, not protection. To him, masks represent the medical dangers of the pandemic. I understand that fear because I have also had the same fear many times over the past 2 years. Masks were necessary. The medical risks were the greatest danger we faced as a community.
So if you could
Give
finish
me
it.
1 more minute.
Yep, 30 seconds.
Okay. But things have changed. Vaccines have changed things. Now the greatest risk has shifted. Personally, the impact of masks hit me a few weeks ago when when my best friend's son took his mask down to take a drink of water, and I saw his smile with his new braces. He had gotten those braces 6 months ago, and I had almost completely forgotten. I've picked up this kid from school several times, just went to see him at his school play, but I had not seen his whole face, his smile, his braces. I had not seen him. We say that children are resilient, and they are, but resilient does not negate suffering, trauma, or stress. Those all still happen. The kids are resilient so that they can keep wearing masks is not an argument we should make one more time. Please put our children's mental health at the forefront of your fight. It is time, and please do not make your decision based on what other communities like Boston are doing. The time is now.
Thank you. If you can leave that, or you can put that. Thank you very much. Next up. Yep. Just have a seat there and just state your name.
My name is Heidi Richards. So I am here yet again to express my concerns as a parent who has their best interest of their child at heart. During this pandemic, my parental rights and authorities were stripped away from me and countless others. When you come for our children, we do what any parent would do. We stand strong and we fight. What has been done to our children in the past 2 years has been outright child abuse. This mandate has damaged a whole generation of children, and the damage is irreversible. My child is in kindergarten, and his mental health is suffering exorbitantly. In a school setting, he will not speak to anyone. He isolates himself. He is not animated. My 5-year-old son said to me, "Mama, no one smiles at me in school and no one has a face." Wearing masks all day, every day for 6 hours is physically unhealthy. He complains of headaches, tiredness, dry mouth, dry chapped lips, red sore dry eyes, just to name a few. These masks are impeding their development. This is doing tremendous damage to their facial development, speech, emotional, educational, and mental development. Children need to see their teachers enunciate their words. They need to see their friends' faces to build friendships. Reading facial expressions and being able to make proper eye contact is crucial to a child's development. This is how they communicate. This is a war on our children. Holding on to a mask policy would be an overreach of power. I am here to make sure that as of February 28th, the mask mandate is lifted and that my child is no longer being abused or stifled in his educational journey, and that my rights and my decisions for my child will be reinstalled.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up. And you can leave that with the Ms. McLeod, too, if you'd like. Okay. State your name, please.
Hi, Bill Udosha. I live in Briscoe Street in Woburn. I have 2 kids in the school system, one at the Joyce, one at Woburn Memorial High School. It's been quite a past couple of years, and it was been frustrating for many, and we've learned a lot along the way about how to handle something that we've never had to handle before to this magnitude. It was really discouraging back in August to see that the overwhelming vote to continue masking in the Woburn public school systems. And I do appreciate there's a few voices of reason. There's clearly a couple of individuals that were set in their ways, and some individuals just couldn't make up their mind, and they went with the flow. So I spent a lot of time trying to put my thoughts together on paper. It's not easy to do when you have 3 minutes, and I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but Mr. Lipset, who is very obvious, doesn't want to let the masking requirements go. He's very pro-mask. Respect your opinion, but at this point, I don't need a third party taking liberties with my child's respiratory system. So, Mr. Lipset, you have a wide-open Facebook page. You post a lot of things, school committee business, your struggles as a teacher, struggles other teachers have. It's good that you're transparent. So, came across a posting from January 3rd.
So I'm just going to, it's about what the school committee's doing, not necessarily.
This is school committee business. This is school committee page.
We're talking about the masks, so.
This is related to the masks.
I'd just like you to try to confine it.
Yes, I will.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not the best speaker, so
Okay.
I want to get it out as quickly as I can.
All right.
Or I'm at a loss for words. So this is on Andrew Lipset's Woburn School Committee page, January 3rd. Honored to join my school committee colleagues tonight to be sworn in for my second term, representing Woburn students and families. Congratulations to John Wells, who was unanimously elected chair for 2022, and thank you to Ellen Crowley, who departed as chair, et cetera, et cetera. He went on to say, we had to make the difficult decision to keep my family at home due to the renewed spread of COVID. So what we have here, we've seen time and time again for the past couple of years, people lecturing us about masks, virtue signaling, speaking with so-called authority, et cetera, et cetera. So what do we have? Picture the entire school committee, all a higher risk group than the highest risk child anywhere, stand not socially distancing, no masks, in January. Is that the height of flu season? So I don't know if I should take this as a relief that, okay, now I know what your positions are on this, because apparently didn't need to wear a mask for this, but you're going to make the kids suffocate all day in a cloth diaper. Or, I don't know, maybe you can't catch COVID at City Hall. I don't know. So you should be a little more careful with what you post. I made copies because I'm sure the post will come down or I'll be blocked. But I just wanted to point that out because we've seen this time and time again. It's ridiculous. And you are the most vocal, sir.
Okay.
You don't want to let it go. And also you're a school teacher. So that calls to question, we have a conflict of interest here with you on the school committee?
Right.
Are you not having a level 3 grievance hearing? Does that involve the teachers' union?
Sir,
are you going to be in on that, or are you going to recuse yourself? Is it a level 3 grievance hearing?
There is a level 3 grievance.
Does it involve the teachers' union?
But this is not a discussion period about what's
Okay.
on the agenda and so forth.
Well, we have some hypocrisy, we have a conflict of interest.
Well, that may be
Okay.
your
Does
opinion,
that, or
but
does
it's
that not involve the teachers'
Oh.
union? Thank you.
Sort of thing. Thank you. Oh, you can give it to Jean. Thanks. Okay, next up. Your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Evelyn Riley. I'm the parent of a freshman at Woburn High School. I sent an email earlier today.
Yep.
This will be short, very short. I'm writing as a Woburn parent with a child at Woburn High School. I'm requesting the school committee rescind the current mask mandate completely and instead align with the current DESE protocol that masking will be optional in Woburn Public Schools beginning on February 28th, 2022. I can also say now to please align with the Board of Health, Mayor Galvin, and Superintendent Crowley with their recommendations as well. COVID has propelled a number of key votes by the school committee over the past couple of years. You kept the kids in school during the 2021 school year because it was the right thing to do and it was the best thing for the kids. At the beginning of this school year, yes, I was still opposed to masking, but the vote went to keep masking in the schools. And the reason many of you gave did make sense. It was to keep the kids in school. We have now gone through an additional 5.5 months of this pandemic and this school year. We have made it through a spike of a 23% positivity in January, and we're now down, as of February 10th, to 3.8% in the state. It is clear we can make it through this. We just need to keep moving forward showing courage, being brave. We can make it through this. At the high school where my son is, I understood some of the reservations at the beginning of the year because a lot of the kids weren't eligible for vaccines. Everyone at the high school has either been able to get a vaccine or has opted not to. And that is a personal choice they can make. The science has come out recently, and it was in the article I sent you. The prolonged stress that many of these children has undergone has caused so much damage, and it actually increases their vulnerability to physical disease, social problems, and mental health problems. At this time, with the levels of COVID we currently have and what we have made it through, we have all made it through this, it doesn't seem that the masks' benefits outweigh the problems associated with them. That being said, of course, if a child or a parent or a teacher want to wear a mask, of course they should be able to wear it with no ridicule. It's their choice. It's their personal choice. Basically, what I saw once, because the discussions have been going on for months, we have an obligation to future generations. We all had childhoods. We all roughly grew up around the same time. It is time for us to give the kids their childhood back. Please rescind and make masking optional February 28th. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next up. Again, just please provide your name.
Hi, I'm Marie Delagrati. How you guys doing?
Good.
Hi. Okay, I just got something short and sweet. I just kind of wrote it on the way here. Hi, my name is Marie Delagrati. I have 2 children in the Woburn Public Schools. I'm saying this with the hope that you hear us all out and keep an open mind. I have been praying that you, the school committee, leaders of our city, have the courage to lead the way and do what's right and make the right decision in removing the mask mandates in our public schools, and that you do not fall to public pressure and do not follow other cities that have decided to extend the unnecessary fear in our children. School is the only place that most students wear their mask. Most of them don't wear it outside of school at all. Our kids have lived in fear long enough and need to be free to breathe. The bad times have come to an end. Let's get Woburn to the finish line and get our children's smiles back into our classrooms. And that's the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up. Oh. I think we have a repeat performer from the fall.
This way, hon, over here.
Yeah.
At this table.
Hi. Would you mind stating your name?
My name is Julia J. Toomey. School is the Malcolm White, and I'm in the 4th grade. What I think is that masks should be an option because some people might think that masks should be still in schools, and they can still do that. But some people think the opposite, and still with the option they can still do that. I think it's fair because the people who do want to wear a mask can, and the people who do not want to wear a mask don't have to. I also think that the cafeteria seats really shouldn't be mandatory because, first of all, what if you're in a seat with someone who bullies you? Imagine how that would feel, and the lunch monitor makes you sit next to him while they just let you get bullied for no exact reason. And plus, you can't talk to your friends. I think that is the most horrible rule ever because, first of all, if we don't eat our lunch, that is their fault. That is our fault. So why do they care so much that we can't talk to our friends? I think that is a horrible rule.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
Next up. Please state your name.
Good evening, Bob Forrester, lifelong Woburnite. I have a senior. My daughter's a senior here at Woburn High School. And my statement is quite simple. It's time to end the mask mandates. I'd like to cite a recent Johns Hopkins University study which touched on 3 things: lockdowns, mask mandates, and social distancing. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but their conclusions were, and it's very involved, it's professional, their conclusions were that none of those 3 things had any effect on slowing the spread of COVID-19. Now, of course, you can debate me on that, but I suggest you take it up with them at Johns Hopkins University. I see many of you wearing the mask. It's just an observation. But it's ludicrous to me, and this is opinion, to think that that cloth mask is protecting you from the COVID virus. I also recently heard our esteemed health expert, Anthony Fauci, and he said that it is now inevitable that everyone is going to contract the COVID-19 virus. It's going to be with us forever. It'll spike, it'll ebb and flow. So we've come a long way since 2 weeks to flatten the curve. A lot of mixed messages, a lot of water under the bridge. I'm calling on you as school committee members to show some pragmatism and not being dogmatic and digging your feet in. I know this is the elite state of Massachusetts. They're smarter than everybody, apparently. But it's time to move on. Let these kids express their individuality again. Let's get past this. Let's not live in fear. Let's not teach the children to live in fear. It's BS. We're past it. Thank you for hearing me this evening. And I brought a list. I actually came here to speak on the sex ed curriculum. I had no notes to talk on the mask mandate.
Yep. Okay.
I'll see you again soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up. Please state your name.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the school committee. My name is Gerard McDonough. Before I begin my statement, I do want to say thank you to all of you for your efforts. When COVID started, we are in uncharted territories for everybody. So I know that there's a lot of things going up in the air as far as how to proceed. And your efforts, we believe, as members of our community that were elected by the members of the community to make the best interest in decisions in the best interest of the children. I appreciate that. My name is Gerard McDonald. Like I said, I'm the proud father of 4 daughters that attend Woburn schools, 1 at the Harold Wyman, 2 here at the Joyce, and 1 is a freshman at Woburn High School. So I have a perspective on the masks from all 3 schools. My concern is more to what you've already kind of heard, and I won't belabor the point, but the psychological component, and that relates to the conversational aspect that the kids are having in school. I'm proud to say that 3 of my older daughters in the middle school and high school are all in honors classes. They're taking challenging classes, and some of the material that they're being presented, when you speak to somebody and you see lips moving and you hear what they're saying, you are taking that all in. With the masks on, they are losing that component. They're still doing well, but I could see them not maybe having some of the challenges that they have in their classes because they lose that ability to see what the person is saying and read things. And the one that is my daughter in elementary school is in 1st grade, and children at that age are now learning to develop how to read people, how to read emotions. They need to see that reassurance, that smile on the teacher's face as they do something, so they get reassurance of what they're doing, that they are doing the right thing, and they are being reassured, and they are boosting their confidence as they grow and as they learn. And the one that's most disturbing that I'll leave you with, and this is no fault of any teachers or anybody here, but one of my daughters comes home and is concerned that a few of her teachers don't like her. And that's because when she's doing things in class, she just has 2 eyeballs staring at her. And she can't read those eyeballs. But she might be able to see the smile on the face. So I may not be having conversations with my daughter after the fact at night to try to boost her confidence and say, it's okay, you're doing the right thing. You don't know what's going on behind the mask. They may be smiling at you. And I think that that is a huge component to this. Again, I appreciate your efforts, but in that vein, I think that the effort should be moved towards going with what the state's saying, what the mayor just said, what our own city's Department of Health just said, and remove the masks on February 28th. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Next up, anybody? Anyone else like to speak about masks? Come on up. Have a seat and just state your name.
My name's Arnold Ross. I have 3 young children in the Woburn schools. There's not much I can really add to what everyone else has said. I would just ask you to get rid of the mask mandate. The only thing I really would ask is we recently discontinued the test and stay program because it was shown that the kids are not really transmitting at all. I believe that has been shown through the past year or so that our kids are at the lowest risk of COVID transmission and long-term impact. So to me, it seems kind of pointless when we've done all that we can do at this point to continue with something that our kids are clearly suffering with, and I don't think it's time to live in fear of what's going on anymore. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to come on up? Have a seat.
Thank you.
Yep. Please state your name.
My name is Justin McInnes. I live on 10 Fisher Terrace. Now, I prepared, a number of statistics that you guys probably have heard to nauseum, so I'm not even going to bore or go that route. All I know is that we've been in this rut for, almost 2 full years now, and I have 3 kids, 2 of which that are in Woburn public school systems, one of which that will be there next year. It is becoming increasingly more difficult as I go around town, whether it's before or after school, going to Market Basket, Target, wherever I want in the city of Woburn. My kids don't have to wear a mask. There's 3 places that they have to, that I'm aware of. Chipotle, Batteries and Plus, and school. Before this meeting, both my boys were playing hockey in this rink that's connected to the building, mask-free, laughing and having fun with their friends. The only thing I want to say to really drive home my point is that I don't want my kids to think that I didn't try to make life better for them. Now, if you want to send your kids with masks all around, great. But I want my kids to remember COVID being a blip in their childhood and not their entire childhood. I want them to remember what it was like to be with their friends, to see them smile, laugh. It's impossible to reason with a 7-year-old saying, hey, you can go outside for recess, play tag, hug your friends without a mask on, but the second you walk through the door, you have to put it back on. I'm sitting in this school without a mask on. Harold Wyman hosted voting for your very seats. You didn't have to wear a mask. I'm pretty certain that school wasn't scrubbed down as best it could to get rid of, COVID. Again, I appreciate everything that you guys have done to echo that other gentleman. I know that you guys are incredibly challenging seats and positions, but again, I will not be able, this is my first time here, I will not be able to look my kids in the eye or fulfill my life saying to them that I didn't try, because I can sit there and tell them how I feel about it and try to make them reason. So this is my effort to ask you, almost beg you, just to end it, make it a choice, and let's just move on. There's enough data to back up the safety behind it, and if you don't want to believe the data, you can just go about your way and keep your kids' masks, and I appreciate that, and I'm not going to fault anyone for it, but it should be my choice how my kids get to live their everyday life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Come on up, state your name, please.
Hi, I'm Rachel Kuberi, Harold Wyman parent. I sent my comments to you earlier today,
Yep.
and I'm not going to read them. I wasn't planning to speak. But what I really wanted to speak about right now is just timing. Like I said, I already shared my concerns. I think the timing is, I'm interested to hear more discussion about that, because February 28th sounds far away by the calendar, but when we look at working days for teachers and administrators to figure out how they're going to talk about this in school, share information with parents in one working day, I have concerns about that. I also have concerns about lifting the mandate the day we come back from vacation, but that's separate. What I'm most concerned about is how we communicate with our students and our families, because my daughter's in first grade, as other people have said, and our kindergartners and first grades have worn masks their whole time in school. So,
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to speak about Mass? Come on up, have a seat, and state your name, please.
Good evening. My name is Len Rizzuto. I have a couple daughters in the Woburn Public Schools. I'll be pretty brief. I just wanted to make a couple points that I hadn't heard. Somebody else might have said it, but on the way here, I was looking at the 7-day death rate in Massachusetts due to COVID. It was about 36.6 and falling. So I always try to benchmark things against the flu. So I'm like, oh, I wonder what the flu is like. So I did a little bit of the math, and they're nearly identical if you were to extrapolate the last 7 days to the rest of the year. And we need to benchmark with things, with other viruses, common viruses that have been established, like the flu, because when things went crazy, they went crazy, and it's important to know when things come back down. Okay, now we're in the territory of everything else that's been around for thousands of years or hundreds of years. So we need to start to know to demask and to change society back to the way it was. What other points do I want to make? So I just want to say that we shouldn't mask our children. We wouldn't mask our children for the flu. So why would we continue to punish the least vulnerable of our population for something that is now on par with influenza? What other things do I want to say? So my younger daughter is a student at the Linscott, and she eats lunch in what I call an opaque voting booth. Assigned seating, and I think somebody else mentioned the assigned seating, and it's very psychologically damaging to be sitting in a prescribed booth surrounded by a bunch of boys. You can't even see your friends. You can't even smile at your friends while eating, and it just goes contrary to the way work is for our adults. We go to work, we eat lunch at a table with one another. Even with masking policies, we'll eat lunch at the same table and won't think twice about it. And you see athletes and sports teams and everything, and so again, we continue to punish the least vulnerable, which doesn't make sense to me. So masks are definitely an impediment to communication. I think we can all agree on that. Teacher and student communication has definitely suffered and slowed greatly over these past 2 years. It's very difficult to understand. Teachers are having difficulty understanding the children, so everything is just slowing. So I'm a big proponent of lifting the mandate and following in the footsteps of other cities like Beverly, Malden, Salem, Billerica, Saugus, etc. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else like to speak? Oh, yeah. What? And this is about masks, right?
Yeah. I have,
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. All right. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Heather Wilson. I have 2 students in the high school, and I was here back in October when you guys were reviewing the information about the social and emotional health, and I just wanted to kind of add that to the mask mandate that we saw that over the year from 2020 to 2021 that the mental health issues really increased in our students with anxiety, depression, suicide ideation, drugs, and alcohol, and I just know that my kids have been impacted, and I just hope that maybe relieving the mask mandate, that would be one step closer to their mental health improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Oh, once, twice? Okay, we're going to close the public session on masks, as I mentioned earlier. Now the school committee is going to deliberate, and then we'll take a recess for a short time, and then we'll come back and do the comments on any other topics people are interested in. I want to thank everybody for speaking and respecting, the time and respecting each other. And remember, we're all part of Woburn, and we're all got to get along. So with that said, I'll open it up to the committee. Mr. Mulrennan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for all the people that spoke this evening. At this time, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we, I didn't write it all down, Dr. Crowder, we accept the superintendent's and the mayor's recommendation to rescind the current policy and adopt a new policy to have mask optional effective February 28th. And on the motion, Mr. Chairman,
I just want to clarify the motion. So,
Dr. Crowder, restate yours.
Right, because I think it's the DESE guidelines. Yeah, mask, which recommends mask optional, but masks need to still be worn on buses because that's a federal law, need to be worn if the child is going to the health office.
Correct.
And if they're coming back within 5 days of testing positive for COVID. So just so everybody in the audience is aware, those things are, what's being recommended by DESE. And the buses and the health things are both federal regulations that we can't do. And so, okay. So
my motion by,
Second.
Okay, so there's a second on the motion. Okay, and did you want to speak on the motion, Mr.
yeah, if I could, Mr. Chairman, again, I know you have a list in front of you of people that have responded and corresponded via emails and different techniques to this committee. And one individual did comment that they quoted myself in a way that way back when I said, whether it was we kept in school, we kept masking, and as indicated tonight, it was our intention all along to try to keep these students and staff in the building. And thanks to our administrators, our families, and our staff, we were able to do that. And I think the person quoted me as saying how it was dividing our town, dividing our city. And as on February 9th, it doesn't say what time the commissioner said, no mask requirements, we always started receiving messages and emails both ways again, dividing our city. But I think that, and it was stated here again tonight, it was stated by the mayor, upon the Board of Health recommendation, the superintendent's recommendation going along with DESE. And I feel that this city, again, can come together and get along and make this work. Just like we've shown here in the past. I know timing might not be great for everybody, but we can't keep kicking the can down the road and change the date and change things. It's out in front of us tonight. I think it's time. 2 years is just about here. Dr. Crowley sat there, I believe it was Friday the 13th, it all happened to this poor gentleman, when he told us, we're going to take a 2-week break here and figure out and flatten the curve. And it was stated tonight. That curve still hasn't been flattened, but it's pretty damn close thanks to a lot of people and a strong, strong community, city, and state, and world effort. I just wanted to put that forward, Mr. Chairman, as well as my comments about the motion tonight. So
Thank you, Mr. Mulrennan. Ms. Crowley.
Yes, I am also firmly in favor of rescinding our policy and enacting an optional policy. I am highly convinced that it will improve student learning, particularly related services in speech and language pathology. I think the occupational therapy and auditory processing issues will be resolved when the kids are able to see mouth moving during these services. And quite frankly, I think it strikes the right balance of allowing parents that want their children to wear masks, and the parents that do choose to send their children without masks. And so I think this, as legislators, this strikes the right balance. I want to note that Dr. Crowley, when we first had to impose masks, he said to me, what about kids that read lips? And to this day, I have been unable to resolve that question. What about children that need to see the face? So I am in favor, and I will pass it along to another member. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Cormier.
Thank you. When we vote to rescind the mask policy and allow everyone to unmask, I believe that the students and staff should not be encouraged to unmask, so that if parents truly do have a choice in this, as we've seen that they do want to make the choice, their efforts to keep their children and others safe should not be undermined by likely well-intentioned teachers and staff who may encourage the kids to remove their masks. And while everyone will surely be fawning over how wonderful it is to see everybody's faces, I want to make sure that we are mindful of students and families that still choose to wear them and not make a student feel abnormal for still masking. I think we're all in agreement that it's important to be proactive with potential bullying situations and inequities, and kids should not be singled out by peers for continuing to mask, and I think we also need to be mindful of this. I, of course, continue to worry about our medically fragile and generally susceptible students, as Mr. Lipset mentioned. And I hope that we will bolster our prophylactic mitigation efforts with appropriate focus cleaning, HEPA filtration, and when possible, open doors, open windows, and outdoor classes. Ideally, everyone is using the free rapid test, has consented to widely available and proven safe vaccine, and is staying home if not well. I fear there will be some cases of in-school transmission, but I hope parents will think of others before sending their child to school sick or untested, because it is possible we have not seen in-school transmission because of the masks. I do think it's important also to point out that the PCR test will show up positive for 3 months after someone is infected, but the rapid antigen test will only be positive if someone is contagious. So parents and students should not fear false positives on the rapid antigen test in students who recently had COVID. My concern is that returning from February vacation will look much like January, when time off afforded people more opportunity for infection, with the added risk of the height of cold and flu season, and I would hate to run into the same personnel shortages we had 6 weeks ago. Yes, our youngest learners benefit from facial cues, and those with masking difficulties should have already had adjustments in place for them. But if the student is missing school due to isolation or quarantine, I think that's doing more harm than not seeing a face. The CDC and AAP still recommending masking in schools, not only to stop the spread of COVID, but also other contagious respiratory diseases that have the potential to take students away from in-person learning time. I appreciate the COVID dashboard, which has been very helpful in keeping us informed of the downward trend in cases in schools since September break. I appreciate the silver lining, if you will, of all the recent cases having short-term natural immunity to get us into spring. Because of this, I make a motion that we amend the policy effective 2 weeks after the return of February vacation, March 14th, 2022, in order to allow any cases to be identified and isolated appropriately before having the option to unmask in school.
So if I understand, Ms. Cormier, you're asking to amend Mr. Mulrennan's motion to have a start date for the optional masking for March 22nd.
Yes, that we will absolutely make it optional on that date, that we don't have to come back.
Okay. So we have a motion.
Sorry, just to clarify, I think, did you say March 14th or March 22nd?
March 14th,
Oh,
2022.
sorry, I heard March 22nd, masks.
See the masks.
Okay, I know. Okay, so thank you for correcting. So March 14th. So I think that amendment is in line with the original motion. So is there a second on the
second.
amendment? Okay. So we have a second on the amendment to the motion.
Roll call.
Well, what I'd like to do is give members a chance to talk, and then we'll vote on the amendment first, and then on the full motion. So, Mr. Kissel.
Are we talking on the amendment or the original?
The entire, you can talk about masks in general.
Yeah.
All right, lots been said, both audience and the committee, and I'm sure there'll be some more statements. So make it brief, I am for rescinding the masks as of the date that superintendent has suggested, based on the earlier reports. Not much more needs to be said at that point. I think if this was voted on a year ago, I'd be still saying we need the masks for obvious reasons. It was a different situation. Things have changed basically, and I think it's not just like we're giving in after 2 years. It's changed, and no different than when we voted on summer school and we said no masks, and then come September we said masks because things changed. So with all that being said, not sure why we're telling everyone we're voting as opposed to making a motion, but I will be I will be voting to rescind.
Okay. I think the idea is so to give logic about why, but it's up to the members what they want to say. Ms. Chisholm.
We've spent 2 years, as we all know, not 2 weeks, like we were all told and promised it was going to happen. I mean, I think it's been long enough. We need kids to become kids again. They need to be able to have what they consider normal life. Like someone said tonight, we all had an opportunity to do this. We didn't have to go to school with these. We didn't have to learn not to be able to speak good. And I know that there's been more and more kids that have had to have speech therapy because of these things. And it's just, we need to put this stuff to a halt. Parents are the experts. Parents can decide, what they want to do with this. And if they want to send their kids to school with a mask, they should be able to do so. And that's their choice. You're the expert. They're your children. We borrow them for 7.5 hours a day or whatever, but they're yours. And I appreciate all of the parents that came out tonight to let us know how you feel. When we received emails from parents letting us know how we feel, and that means a lot to us. So I think that it's time. I mean, there's only 13 states in the country that even did this, so we need to just step up to the plate and let our kids be the same as other kids and be able to live life as they were and go back to doing what we need to do. And I mean, I think the staff would be happy too, so that they can recognize not only just the eyes of their children, but everything below that. And there's a lot of times teachers can recognize when someone isn't getting it by their frowns or their smile. And that's just as important as what they do on a daily basis. So I think that if we pulled out teachers, which I believe they did, there's many, many teachers that are in favor of removing these masks so that they can teach and they can see their kids like they've done for the past number of years. So I absolutely am in favor. I wish we could do it tonight, but I am definitely in favor of removing these and getting back to life. And you know, and I understand parents are smart enough to know when your kids are sick, they stay home, just like you did 2 years prior. You know, in 2019, I'm sure if your kid woke up with a fever and a sore throat, you're going to keep them home, or I would hope you would. So the same thing should be done today. We don't need to remind everybody to do that. Well, maybe we do, but we'll just, you know. But I think that it's time. We've done it, we've played, now move on.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lipset.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard everything that everyone said here, and I agree with a lot of it. I think that we are seeing a dramatic decrease in cases. We're seeing a lot of improvement. I appreciate everyone who came out to speak. I think it's important to note that the biggest spikes that we've seen in the past couple of months have been when students have returned from a break. I'm not sure that coming immediately out of a vacation is the right time to do that. I've had my own students voice that concern to me. I do agree this is going to have to end, and probably pretty soon, especially if we see numbers continue the way they are. I don't think that immediately after break is the way to do it. So I will be supporting Ms. Cormier's amendment on that point.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything? I just want to, we got a number of emails. I tried to respond to everybody that sent an email. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But all the emails were forwarded to Jean, so they're in the record. And Evelyn Riley, Rachel Coberry, Jay Morgan, Coberry, Julie Cotton, Caitlin Skinner, Brenda Farrer, Paul McElhaney, Dale Goldstein, Allison Van Denferter, Jasmine Parislami, Scott Grossi, Shannon Ryan, Amanda Renee, Jen Noon Hess, Ed Murphy, Karen D'Angelo, Catherine Clayton, Courtney Glazer, Nicole Stout, Lisa Murphy, Megan Murphy, and Deidre Doyle, all sent emails that voicing various opinions. The committee did get all of the emails, and as I said, they've been forwarded to Jean to be added to the record. So I thank everybody for that. So with that said, it's time to vote. So on the first vote will be on the amendment. So the amendment is to institute the policy beginning March 14th. All those in favor of the amendment?
No.
Aye.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Motion fails, excuse me. Yeah, motion fails 2 to 5. Okay. Now with the main motion. Well, let's do voice vote. All those in favor of the main motion to do DESI standards as mentioned and beginning on February 28th. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Am I seeing?
No, I said aye.
Oh, okay. You were shaking your head.
Aye.
You were shaking your head the other way,
No,
so that's,
no.
motion carries 7-0. Okay,
go.
thank you. So I'll do a 5-minute recess. I'll do a 5-minute recess. Okay? Motion for a 5-minute recess? Yeah. You're supposed to do it, but, okay, 5-minute recess. second?
Second.
All those in favor? Motion carries. Okay, so now if any individual wants to speak on anything besides masks, you're welcome to come up here and speak.
Come on up, kids.
Okay.
What do you got?
Okay, and if you could please state your name. And I'll just reiterate the rules. This is not a dialogue, but rather we're a listening session. And if people are speaking about personnel issues, we really don't discuss those in public, but if it's a policy or something like that, that's fine. So, go ahead.
Good evening, members of the school committee. My name is Emily Crowley, and I'm a concerned grandparent of a Woburn High School student. I want to thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I want to believe that you are all interested in safeguarding the well-being of our children's health. The lessons in the 3 R's education curriculum are not age appropriate or medically accurate. Parents need access to the full 3 R's curriculum, including the activities, the worksheets, the videos, the websites, and other supplemental material in order to make an informed decision as to whether to keep the child in that program or opt them out. They cannot do that with just an outline that you might send, or even a summary, because those outlines and those summaries are innocuous. Who doesn't like rights, respect, and responsibility? They all sound so good. Grade 6, Lesson 4, talks about low risk of STDs, vaginal, anal, and oral sex using a condom correctly. 6th grade? Is this age appropriate? This promotes anal and oral sex and normalizes the sexual behaviors of minors. Grade 8, Lesson 2. Malik watches porn sometimes when he is home alone and is nervous about whether he will know what to do. Is this appropriate for the 8th grade? No, again, this normalizes child sex and it desensitizes children to sexual things. Grade 9, for the teacher's guide. Steps to putting on a condom. Make sure you both consent to whatever you plan to do sexually if you haven't clearly told the other person what you want. Now, really, is that age appropriate? Sex education should be biological. This sounds more like a sex manual for minors. 12th grade, Lesson 5. Viewing sexually explicit media in relationships should be considered a behavior that needs consent from both partners.
Excuse me.
Or they
Ma'am.
should agree
Ma'am.
not to view it.
Excuse me. I'm going to give you 3 more minutes because there's 2 of you, but, okay? But
Thank you.
Well, then I'm not going to give her 3 more minutes. I'll give you 30 seconds more. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Both people need to want to do it in order for it to be consensual. Again, more pornography. Watching porn is normalized, completely ignoring the wealth of information that is published about mental, emotional, and physical and academic harms watching and becoming addicted to porn. I think I've said enough about it.
Okay. Thank you.
And I just ask you to review it again and much more carefully,
Okay.
please.
Thank you.
And my main point is we need better access for the parents to know all of the curriculum.
Okay, so if you, ma'am, if you could state your name?
Yes. My name's Nancy Herlihy. I'm a Woburn resident, and my kids are grown now, but when I heard about this, I was just appalled, and it just reminded me of one of the reasons why we decided to homeschool. As was just so eloquently stated, parents need to see the full curriculum. There's no reason under the sun why the parents shouldn't receive the whole curriculum, all the information. Those pesky parents wanting information, can you imagine? And I can tell by some of the look on the faces over there that they don't know what's in this curriculum. But I have a whole bunch of things, and I just can't bring myself to read it because it's so obscene. But I'll gladly give you ladies a copy. But I want to talk on a policy issue. This is being pushed by Planned Parenthood. And Planned Parenthood has a lot to gain once they stimulate children, once they get children sexually active, because then they can provide all the help that those children would need, like abortion, like contraception. So again, in this world, unfortunately, as is usually the case, follow the money. Follow the money. Planned Parenthood has a lot to gain. And why would we be listening to such a racist organization like Planned Parenthood is beyond me. I know the founding, I know about Margaret Sanger. How we could ever be listening to the advice of Planned Parenthood is beyond me. But on another battle, just to give you an idea of what Planned Parenthood is about, the Roe Act was recently passed here in Massachusetts, which basically codified into our state law the right to an abortion. Now, Governor Baker is a pro-choice Republican. So he believes in a woman's right to choose. But even he said, this is too far. He vetoed the bill. But our legislature foolishly overrode the veto. Now legalized abortion. You can get an abortion up to birth in Massachusetts. So even though we have some of the greatest medical community, the greatest educational institutions, and incredible technology, our wisdom is at an all-time low. There's no one in this room that would look at a woman who's 8 months pregnant and say she's carrying anything other than a baby. But this is Planned Parenthood's idea. The second thing it does, well, the initial bill had the age of consent for a young girl being 12 years old. So at 12 years old,
is this relevant to the
it's totally relevant, yes it is.
to the policy of the
It's totally
education?
relevant because
Okay.
these are the people promoting the policy.
All right, you got 20 seconds.
So the initial bill had the age of consent at 12 years old for a girl seeking an abortion. She could do that without the consent or interference of those pesky parents. But the last thing I want to say is I testified at the February 9th meeting during the day, and when some of these issues were brought up, Ms. Cormier said after my comments, I have the authority to dispense contraception to a 12-year-old girl if she's looking for it, and there's no parent that can do anything about it. And if that can be disputed, we can go ahead and publish the minutes to the last meeting, which legally has to be done. This is the objective of Planned Parenthood, and no one should be listening. I realize I'm in the super minority here. No one should be listening to anything Planned Parenthood has to offer the good citizens of Woburn and their families. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. No, wait, I think, another one. Okay. Hey, again. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Bob Forrester again.
Yep.
This is why I came here this evening.
Okay.
Sex ed curriculum.
Yep.
I read some of the curriculum prior to coming this evening, and frankly, I was horrified. It struck me, a lot of it, as gross and lewd perversion. I don't think that's an exaggeration. So I just jotted down a couple of things. A lot of discussion of oral sex, anal sex, pornography, oral sex, not really sex. Anal sex, the normalization of it, Well, we know what anal sex did to the gay community during the AIDS epidemic. That's no secret. So is that a good idea to promote that? How about gender identity? The normalization of transgender and queer. Not a new phenomenon for sure, but the normalization of it. I was always taught that majority ruled. A minority like that, and putting ideas in kids' heads before they've even hit adolescence, and the hormones that have it's very strange to me. Here's another one, a role play scenario, grade 9. This is Sydney. I'm assuming that's a girl. You were assigned male at birth, assigned male, but have never identified as a boy. You are a girl, but not a girly girl. You really like the fact that Z, that must be the other role-play character, you really like the fact that Z is king of androgynous, but you aren't sure how to get things started. What place does this have in school curriculum? This is insane. If I knew this sooner, I would have attended these school meetings a long time ago. I guess it's about time, but you know what? Better late than never. Not for my kids. I asked my daughter, do you recall any of this? She said, no, Dad, I don't recall any of that. I don't know. I'm glad, because you would have seen me sooner. That's it. That's all I got.
Thank you.
I had to stop reading.
Okay.
This isn't normal.
Somebody else, I think, wants to speak? Thank you. Thank you.
Heather Wilson, I have 2 children in the high school. I'm here about the 3R curriculum as well. I reviewed it, and it's very explicit and inappropriate. It's being taught in our schools. And I just ask that the school committee review and reconsider this curriculum. And I also want to let all the parents know that there is an opt-out option, that you can text Woburn at 87891 or go to mafamily.org, and you can get an opt-out form and get your students out of this curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone? No? Okay. Thank you.
I'm going on the fly again here because
Okay.
my name's Marie Delabrati, 2 kids,
Yep.
schools.
Yep.
So the other morning, I'm dropping my daughter off at the Joyce, and these lovely ladies hand this pamphlet out to me.
Yep.
My husband and I were completely outraged. We know nothing about this. That's sex education. I just got the pamphlet. I don't know much about it right now, but once I start educating myself, you guys would have started to hear from me. That's absurd to teach some of the stuff that I saw in the pamphlet. I don't know too much about the program yet, but let me just read something that was quite disgusting. A girl tells her partner that they're in a one-on-one relationship. She's having sex with other people, basically encouraging and pushing same-sex relationships. I'm not down with that. You know what I mean? That's destruction of the family structure, and you guys are going to start it earlier and earlier. It's not okay for kids to be having multiple sexual partners. I feel like I'm double dipping tonight because I came here for the maths, and it just so happens that you guys are talking about the sex education. Whatever's in this curriculum is not okay. Like, some basic sex education is okay, but if this is the stuff that's going to be taught in school, whoever's picking the curriculum, you should be ashamed of yourself. I don't know who's picking it. Somebody picks the curriculum, you got to think about it. Look at yourself in the mirror if that's what you want to teach the children of Woburn, that it's okay to be going out. Performing fellatio and, let's see, watching porn together, not cool in my book. So whatever, but most of my friends don't even know about it, but once I start informing people and letting people know, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of other Woburn parents that are going to be just as upset as I am. So I definitely would reconsider that program and you should be ashamed that that crap is even talking in moving schools. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. That's it for public comment for the evening. Thank you, everybody that came to speak. Okay, next up is committee approval of the MASS DACA conference.
Motion to approve as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, why not let this motion,
Yes.
and then a second, and then I'll have the superintendent just so that the audience knows. So do I have a second on the motion?
Second.
Okay. If the superintendent could just, give a brief overview of the...
Sure. There's a distributive education club at the high school. The acronym is DECA. And the proposed trip is in March to go to the Marriott. It's a long-standing DECA tradition. I know that this conference has existed for many years. Ms. Keenan is the advisor, and she is proposing to go down to Boston for this trip. They've done some fundraising, and I would support the trip, but for policy, I needed it to come through the school committee.
Okay, is there any questions for the superintendent? Mr. Kissel?
This, if I'm not mistaken, is an overnight trip?
Yes, it is.
And our policy, I thought, said no overnight, is that correct?
No, it needs school committee approval for
Committee
overnight.
approval. So what's the, it's only in Boston, so that
Yep.
it makes sense to be overnight? They start early the next morning?
Correct.
Yep.
I assume?
Yeah, it's just like the previous trip that we approved.
The Model
month-
UN conference
Yep.
that Faith alluded to
Similar idea.
tonight.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Great. Okay, subcommittee reports. So, I don't know, I know Mr. Kissel has some, but maybe we should. Let's just do it and get through them, yeah. Because I think there's some maybe relevant for some of the discussion this evening. Okay, so we're going to do finance subcommittee. Ms. Chisholm.
We met on February 9th here at the Joyce Middle School. In attendance was Superintendent Matt Crowley, Assistant Superintendent Bob Alconado, Patty McKinnon, and Director of Buildings and Grounds Dave Dunkley, and school committee members Colleen Comiak, Chris Kissel, and myself. As it is now, we do receive our packets prior to our meeting. We review them and we forward any questions that we may have to the business office, well, mostly Patty. But, sorry, Bob. Answers are then forwarded back to each of us, which allows more accurate and timely answers. I did attach the questions that we had and the answers to the minutes that are with Jim. So we had warrant one was for $234,681.51. Warrant two was for $209,826.03. Warrant three was for $783,785.61. Warrant four was for $116,395.95. And we have a motion to approve.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the list of bills?
So moved.
So moved, second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the
Motion
same motion on the balance of accounts.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve the balance of accounts. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the balance of accounts? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Dave Dunkley spoke to us on some financial issues that have been brought up. The location of the library and the curriculum offices were completed, mostly with in-house personnel, and was completed just under $100K. The project that has allowed more work areas for students with windows, and curriculum coordinators are closer to the admin offices. Electric bills have seen an increase, but Dave feels it will be okay with the energy reserve. He noted that adding the air purifiers in almost every classroom and most work areas, as well as starting ventilation systems in every school earlier, the costs are going to be up about $50,000 this year. The gas is under budget as of now, and he projects it will remain the same. There was an increase in purchasing keys and new locks this year, but he said we've added new employees, as well as after some lockdown drills, there were a couple of areas that needed to have additional locks installed. We had additional plumbing bills for installation of the additional water bottle filling stations. All schools now have them installed, if not multiple in each school. A request had come for us for assisting financially with the trolley ride for the third grade students from the Historical Society. This program has run for a few years by Kathy Lucero from the Historical Society. It is a great benefit to our students and staff, have all taken part in this and supported this field trip. Administration was already aware of this request. It will be funded through curriculum budget, and this will be a budget item going forward. So we do need a motion to approve that.
Yeah, so, so is everybody aware of the trolley thing? Anybody have any questions about that, or I can just get a motion to approve?
I just wanted to say that that's awesome,
Yep.
that that's being implemented again.
Yeah.
And just so that the public knows, the third graders ride around the city and tie their history lessons into monuments in Woburn.
Yeah.
And it's pretty fabulous. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yep. Ms. Chisholm.
So this is working with the Woburn Historical Society, so the motion is to, how much money was it?
$3,000.
Okay, we have a motion to that effect.
Was it 3 or 5? I think it's
5,000. 5,000. Okay, do we have a second on the motion?
Second.
Second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And it'll be added as a budget item going forward. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And a new sign for Malcolm White, but Chris will talk about that through resources. Donating, we're going to have to vote on that. The school department will now have credit card, which will be held by the superintendent for expenses that are needed when companies do not accept purchase orders. Internal controls are in place for this, and the city also has one. Been working on that for a couple of years. I thought we already had it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
A motion was made to approve the expense of up to $10,000 for ongoing litigation issues. And we thank the admin team for great presentation to the City Council Finance Committee on February 7th. Being proactive and keeping all elected officials up to date on the happenings in our school is helpful and minimizes, if not erases, any surprises at budget time. And our meeting adjourned at 9:40.
Thank you. Any questions for finance? Okay, moving on. Communication Subcommittee, Mr. Lipson.
We have not met since the last time.
Okay, good. Curriculum and Data Trends Subcommittee, Mr. Mulrennan.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we did meet, I believe, Mr. McCall sent everybody a copy of the minutes by electronic email. So I'll do my best to quickly breeze through some of the minutes. It was Friday, February 9th here at the George, 10 a.m. In attendance was Courtney Young, Diane Iverson, Chris Kendall, myself, Ms. Chisholm, Ms. Kissel, and Ms. Cormier. As you heard tonight, Emily Crowley was present, and we had concerns from her in the past. We allowed her to comment about the 3 hours as she did tonight. After further discussion with Ms. Young, so they were allowed some comments, just like we did tonight. Also, M. King, I'm sorry, this Mr. Mike King from the Family Institute, similar concerns and comments as Ms. Crowley had. Ms. Winston, I believe, I got the correct spelling right, believes that they are backed by Planned Parenthood. We heard that tonight. Another person spoke, questioning concerns about the parents' opt-in and opt-out options. A gentleman by the name of Bill Kearns, again, his concerns about the opt-in and opt-out of the 3-hour methods and how to go about that. Kelly, with the daughter of Emily Crowley, was there. Katie with 12 concerns, and Nancy, who was here tonight, mother of a homeschool student, concerns regarding the 3 hours as well. We took some time that morning to do excellent work from Ms. Courtney and Diane Iverson, explaining to the concerned people that were there, as well as anybody that's listening tonight as well, that the letters were going to be going home. This was after the meeting. The letters were going to go home. There has been changes since this meeting, but there was any explanations from Ms. Young for the options of parents moving forward to get out of that. Lessons were going to be posted on the whiteboard, again, being transparent and open, offer entry and exit time for questions and concerns from the students with the staff teaching the curriculum, and some alternate wellness assignments for the opt-out students at that time. Ms. Stinson presented again, if you recall, the entry plans that Ms. Stinson gave us in the past. She gave us some more, very extensive document. Again, I think she has a great program whereby she's phasing in these entry plans with a 3-phase system. We also asked that Ms. Young electronically email those to all committee members at your leisure. Take a look at them. Obviously, a lot of work done by Ms. Stinson as far as just the relationship between the district and the staffing and what the needs might be. Excuse me. Ms. Young did have a nice little presentation and a colorful document and a table, spreadsheet on dibbles that we're going to present at our next subcommittee meeting. Our meeting adjourned at 11:15 that morning. And I don't know at this time if you want to have.
I would, Ms. Young, maybe, I know you sent an email to the school committee updating us on the curriculum, and maybe if you just want to summarize that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So as we know, DESE at times changes the movement of things. They've been working since pre-COVID on new wellness standards. We had started to implement before those came out, which was intended for the fall. But in kind of reflecting and working with Ms. Stinson, we made the decision to wait for the new standards to be released in the fall and implement new programming based off of the new standards as to not do it more than one time.
And that might explain, there was mention that they didn't know something was happening at the middle school because it hadn't happened yet.
Yep. So we're working with the health teachers this spring in preparation for the standards to be released next fall.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cormier.
I just wanted to clarify my comments from that meeting,
Yep.
just so that nobody's showing up my house with pitchforks. So under Massachusetts law, the mature minor law states that healthcare providers can provide reproductive services to 12 and up that they feel are mature minors. I obviously, as a provider, have encouraged my patients to reach out to their parents and have this conversation, but unfortunately that's not always a possibility. I certainly did not say that no one could stop me, but I just want to let you know that that is actually what was said, and I can show you my copy of the minutes as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for curriculum? No, thank you, Mr. Mulrennan. Okay, Personnel Subcommittee, Ms. Cormier.
We will be meeting on Friday, March 4th at 8 a.m. to discuss the upcoming Alta Vista and Linscott principal search.
Okay, thank you. Resource and Capital Planning Subcommittee.
Our plan is to meet March 2nd to go over a couple of items that have come up through the regular meeting, but I do this evening have not a rush, but I just wanted to get it done. So if I indulge me, I'll do a little quick reading here. This is from Jennifer Baker Jones, who said she'd like to, her family would like to make a gift for of the new sign at the Malcolm White School. I'm paraphrasing.
Yep.
It's jumping to the main part. It's made out of synthetic material instead of wood, and that's why the old sign is rotting. I think it was the original sign when they built the school. It will be, no digging will be required. They're going to keep the same posts, and the sign won't be lit or electrified, so it won't be a problem for the neighbors. So having said that, I got a letter from David Dunkley, the facilities manager. Parent of the White School has reached out, blah, blah, blah. The existing school sign, which is located between the sidewalk and Bow Street, is very weathered, and it is great that a school parent wants to replace it. My understanding is the new sign, and it's a fact, not just he's not misunderstanding. My understanding is the new sign will reuse the existing granite posts. It would be a simple change out. I support this project. That was from the facilities manager. So my request this evening is that we accept this gift from the Baker family, Miss Baker Jones, and I make a motion or have
Second.
Motion to accept the gift of a sign at the Malcolm White. We have a second. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman, you also, yourself, send the Baker family a nice letter.
That was my next note, Mike.
I know.
Don't steal my thunder here.
So which of the two committee members are fighting each other to send a note? So, Mr. Mulrennan, or do you want me to send the letter?
So I have, send a thank you, a note to the Baker family on behalf of the administration and the school committee.
Okay, I will.
That would be great, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion, we had a second. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries. Congratulations, thank you, Baker family, and just give me the information and I'll send that. I probably have it, but,
Mike probably has it.
yeah. Okay, Student Services and Achievement Subcommittee. Okay, great. Okay, correspondence. You have a correspondence in your package from the superintendent, the SEAM budget. Remember, the SEAM is the collaborative that we belong to support the special education program. It's independently funded, and we support that, and the superintendent is our representative on that. So we don't have to vote on this?
Just accept it.
Yeah, just accept it? Okay, unless anybody have any questions. Yep. Anybody have any questions about that?
I do.
Ms. Cormier?
Just two quick questions. As far as, so is this the completed budget?
Yes.
Like it's been approved and all that? Because I was looking at the calendar in it, and it didn't seem like we were far enough, like it was like June that was going to be approved. I don't know.
The FY23 budget is approved.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we'll just accept that. Any other correspondence from members? No, thank you. I've read all the correspondence. I did want to say that I did get correspondence from Sean Musselman and Siobhan Curran regarding other issues, and I forwarded those to Ms. McLeod too, and I believe all the members have received those emails. If you haven't, let me know and I'll forward them to you too. Okay. Future agenda items. Well, we are not having a meeting. We're potentially having a meeting on the 22nd of February, but there's no need for that. And I think Jean was reminding me that 26th is still on the agenda, but I don't think there's any need for that. So if we could have a motion to cancel the meeting for February 26th? Second? Or whatever, the 22nd, no, what was the date?
It was the 23rd originally.
23rd, okay. So if I have a motion to eliminate the meeting on the 23rd?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And Jean, just remind the members when our next regularly scheduled meeting is. It's March
8th.
Okay. Okay, and potentially, we may have other meetings, but there's not anything on the horizon right now. Awesome. Okay. We do have an executive session, a level 3 grievance hearing from the nurses union, and so this meets the qualifications for going into executive session, so could I have a motion to go into executive session?
Executive session for...
So moved.
No, we have a second. All the, roll call, Superintendent?
Ms. Chisholm?
Yes.
Ms. Cormier?
Yes.
Ms. Crowley?
Yes.
Mr. Kissel?
Yeah.
Mr. Lipset?
Yes.
Yes.
Dr. Walsh?
Yes. So the school committee is going to go into executive session. That means the audience can leave. We will come back and reveal any votes that are taken before the meeting ends after the executive session. Thank you, everybody, and we'll clear the room, and then we'll have...
Thanks, Bill.
Okay.